So next up in our Fast Saga reviews, we have Fast and Furious. They decided to get rid of the thes in this fourth installment. This was around the point where certain other fourth installments were just kind of having either the same or a very similar name to their original installments. It's like Final Destination. But like Final Destination, it's not a reboot. It's more of a direct sequel. Now, of course, again, as I mentioned in Too Fast, Too Furious, though I'm making this after that, you may or may not be watching this after the Tokyo Drift review, so we'll keep it briefed. Point is, Tokyo Drift and Too Fast, Too Furious didn't do well. However, Vin Diesel did see the potential of the series and the characters, and especially how much fans really liked this franchise, despite it being for the first three movies. Getting a much higher budget than the last two, he brought back the director from the previous one, and through him were they even able to bring back Han, at least for a little bit. Despite that, all the people in the beginning little scene there were in this small little 20-minute short film that Vin Diesel was allowed to shoot during the schedule of the whole filming production of Fast and Furious. What I believe to be the only film Vin Diesel has himself directed, he actually does a very good job here. It feels very, not really home movie, but something that is definitely on a much lower budget, as this obviously wasn't through the same budget. It's something more smaller scale and more homey, and just kind of like a very quick talking with whatever mob boss they're talking to that I guess they gotta deal with because of the PS2 game, but as I mentioned in Too Fast, Too Furious, that game sucks, so who cares what happens there. Los Bandoleros? I think that's how you say it. I'm a white guy, so I don't know how to say Spanish words properly, so I apologize. It is a very cool 20-minute short that does add a little bit more context in terms of what's happening in the beginning of the Fast and Furious movie, and it's a pretty neat, cute little short that does bring back Letty into the life of Dom, and they still have a clear loving relationship that is instant, just due to the fact that these two actors just have some genuine actual chemistry. But we're not here to talk about that small little short, we're here to talk about Fast and Furious. And Fast and Furious, it's obviously much bigger and much crazier. Being 5 years later, as I mentioned in Too Fast, Too Furious, Brian kind of immediately was brought into the FBI, and he's been doing jobs for them since. Currently, he's running down this big drug dealer mob boss guy, Antonio Braga, who is doing a lot of shady shit that he can't quite track down. However, at the same time, our boy Dom and his group, that being Tego and Leo, I believe is how you pronounce their names, and of course Letty and Han from Tokyo Drift. And you may, of course, know if you've seen that Han fucking died in Tokyo Drift, and while that's probably changed thanks to the current 9th movie, point is this was revealed to be beforehand, and that made more sense here, as again, this is 5 years later, as they mention in the movie, so this is either in 2006, or it's in 2009, and now the original movie takes place in 2004. I'm pretty sure that canonically we've went with that, considering every movie seemingly kind of takes place at around the point of its release date going forward. There is this awesome opening action scene where they take two oil tankers from this trucker, but they can't get the rest of it because it goes off the rails and starts exploding, and it is crazy how they're even able to just know how it bounces up in such a way that they could just drive through it, but you don't question physics in these movies going forward, really. And with the crazy zappy shit and all the drifting in Tokyo Drift, I think we've just kind of stopped beforehand, but now especially. But Dom, who goes back into hiding afterwards, does get a call from his sister, and we find out that Letty has unfortunately been killed. Brian continues to look in to find where Arturo Braga is, and we find out that, in fact, Arturo Braga had something to do with Letty's death. Find a little bit more out later, but Dom on his own starts looking on the sort of seedy underground parts of it and happens to track the exact same person that Brian ends up tracking. They do find the exact same person, and right when Dom's about to murder the dude, he lets the dude go, just from respect of Brian. Brian finds out through this guy a little bit more where Arturo Braga is, and almost similar to 2, he of course is looking for some drivers, just, to drive things. Mainly to traffic heroin across the Mexican border. They do go on this big race where the roads have not been cleared, so they gotta go through all this crazy shit. Not only is it Brian and Dom looking for the space, but there's also a few other guys who end up mostly being fodder, as of course this really cool racing scene ends up with a lot of them having their cars being flipped over. It's, you know, to be a broken record, it's really cool. Dom does beat Brian though, and Brian kind of has to rely on the FBI and taking down of the other already previously selected drivers so that he could take his place. Funny part about the FBI who are helping him arrest that guy was played by the same actor as a dude from Better Luck Tomorrow, and as far as I can tell, they're probably the same character if we're considering Han is the same character in both movies. So it's weird to see these characters go on two different paths in their lives. Next, though, they do get a quick little transport, and they are let off to do this crazy thing where they drive through these, like, fake cliffs, or whatever is happening there, where they drive in these sort of underground segments where they have to be really careful, and they have to be really quick, otherwise the Border Patrol will find them. But when they get out of the border, though, Dom makes his intentions very quickly clear as he tells the person who Dom finds out had killed Letty, where he's like, I'm going to fuck your shit up. He, of course, blows up all the cars, but Brian takes one of their armored vehicles, and the two of them are able to escape. It's apparently a 1999 Hummer, but it does have $6 million worth of heroin. Sorry, $60 million bucks worth of heroin, which is, as far as I can tell, a lot of money. I will never see that amount of money or heroin in my life. One of those is a good thing, the other one is a bad thing. Because Dom was shot during this, Brian does bring Dom back to Mia's house, and she is able to patch him up a little bit. They have a nice little dinner, and they do kind of connect a little bit more, but Dom quickly finds out the reason why Letty was involved and was attacked by Braga is because in order to try and clear Dom's name, did she work with the FBI, which ended up getting her killed. We'll talk about that in a future movie, but let's say she's dead for now. Brian tries to work with the FBI to try and let Dom off the hook if the two of them bring Braga to them, which seemingly works. However, right as they're about to definitely know that the person they're talking to is Braga, the other douchey FBI agent that was working with him goes in too quickly, which gets the real Braga, who was pretending his name wasn't Braga the whole time, to escape with all of the money that he just took from them, and Phoenix. They, of course, nearly run over Giselle, who is the person who was working with them the whole time. She's played by, you know, Wonder Woman. She won't be Wonder Woman yet, but she's here first. She's alright. She flirts with Dom a lot, and it's clearly not gonna happen, but whatever. She's alright in this. I think she's better in Fast 5, but, you know, let's not take that away. Giselle's pretty cool. Because of this, Giselle does help them try and track the real Braga down, and through that are they able to get to this church that Braga was just kinda at. They should just take him and all the people come after them, and how do they get rid of him? By the very well set up crazy underground part, where they just end up crashing all the guys inside the things. Eventually ending with Phoenix crashing his car into Brian's, not killing Braga, surprisingly, or Brian, but as Phoenix is about to shoot the severely injured Brian, Dom crashes through him and fucking straight up kills him. They do take in Braga, but Dom is not acquitted of all of his charges, which ends up having him getting 21 years to life. I feel like, honestly, he probably would have made it after 21 years. Dom's a pretty well-behaved boy. However, Brian resigns from the FBI and decides to get with Mia, Tio, and Leo, and I believe Han. Han was probably involved in some capacity, but they straight up flip the bus, which somehow doesn't kill anyone in there, but is able to get Dom out there, which directly sets up Fast 5. Now, of course, Fast and Furious is a much more grounded, much better written sequel to that of the previous two, for various reasons. Firstly, Justin Lin is a very good action director. He definitely learned from the certain miscomings from the previous one. That and added with a much more grounded approach. It turns this movie into a more grounded, down-to-earth sort of cop but not really cop crime drama action movie, and less of a live action version of Initial D. It is done incredibly well. I feel like the worst it really gets is the shaky cam in the beginning when Brian is chasing down this random criminal, but everything is framed incredibly well. Everything that needs to be seen is need to be seen. Justin Lin knows how to make a very well set up scene, and especially an action scene. Though there is a lot of camera wobble, it makes a lot of sense considering it's in cars and cars are going fast, and as in the previous bunch of movies, the quick pace editing doesn't feel off, you know? It's not like a Terminator 3, and it's not even in that level, you know? I could excuse even what Terminator 3 did with the every single movement of everyone's hand needs a quick cut to that next shot. But however, they only have a few amount of shots that they cut to a few times, and then that makes for a much better paced scene. It makes it feel very exhilarating, and it makes sense for what is going on in the actual part of the action scene. It's a cool racing scene, it's a crazy heist scene, and all that makes a lot of sense. And though I mentioned the physics of the cars and such, though it's at its what the most hell-ish during the part of the beginning there, it does make some actual sense. And that's mainly thanks to the fact that while they have a bunch of CGI, which firstly looks much better than it did in like Too Fast, Too Furious, in that bad-looking race scene there, it mixes incredibly well with the practical effects and the real cars that they end up crashing, which, similar to the first three, they have a lot of cars in this. It's more on the level of the first one of they get a lot of cars in this movie and real-ass crash a lot of them multiple times to get the right amount of shots that they want. And that I can respect. I'm pretty sure at this point Fast and Furious basically is the reason why some of these car companies are still in business, due to the amount of cars they end up crashing during these films. The action scenes are really entertaining in this. They are fast-paced, they are exhilarating, and I would love to rewatch them all of the time, but you're not just watching this movie for its action scenes. Although that is the main purpose, as always, the characters are all very likable. You get the cast from the first one, and though Letty isn't in it a lot, she still does a great job, and as does the rest of the cast that is in a majority of it. The main three here really do feel like a group of friends, or more like a family. There is a genuine connection, a genuine romance between Brian and Mia, and they really connect back into this. It's totally believable that they would get immediately back into it after apologizing, because there was a genuine connection there from the first movie. And the friendship of Dom and Brian is the best parts of these movies, you know? These movies would not be the way they were if these people didn't have some genuine actual chemistry on screen. You can feel that these two are real friends in real life, and it comes out on screen. Perfectly mixes into the arc that these characters go on throughout the movie. Them really connecting back into who they really are and what makes them who they are. You know? It brings us back to the way things were sort of during the original movie, and you're totally down for that. Down for this sort of like, time to get revenge on these shitty criminal dudes. And though you could probably talk about whether or not it's fine that Brian breaks a law by the end of the movie, you don't care. It's all about helping your dudes out and kicking ass, and it's it. The movie's cool. Again, to be a broken record, it's cool to see characters that you like do cool things, and you do this being a believable character arc by the end of the movie. It's really... it all comes together to a really great experience. Fast and Furious takes what was good about the first one and makes it into a much better written, better paced, better constructed movie that feels genuinely believable, very well made and well written. There's not any lines, people trying to be too cool, you know, there's no stupid stuff in it. The editing and directing is much better and much more grounded, so the presentation feels more like an actual action movie, more like that of Die Hard, rather than just a bunch of dude bros trying to be like, yo, look at my car, you know? Well, that was probably the audience of the original movie. This really elevates it into a different kind of movie, a movie that more people can really watch and respectfully like in terms of what happens in it. People who like the original can come back to this and see the characters that they know and love going on a much cooler, much more higher stakes adventure and still feel at home due to these characters being just the same exact ones. They've been separated for like, in real life 8 years and in universe 5 years, and it still feels like it's just been the exact next movie. This was the movie that was supposed to be Too Fast, Too Furious. But honestly, due to the fact that it was made after Tokyo Drift, years after people were just not wanting to see a movie like Too Fast or Tokyo Drift, and more of a movie like this was made at the right time. And it's good that it was made here and not back then. And due to that, you really got to see this evolution of the way people did action movies and the way they thought of action movies from 2001 to 2009. And it's really cool to see the two of them, like, compare. Though I feel there's better movies ahead, this is still one that I absolutely have to recommend to people. Even if you've not seen the original, you could easily hop into this and know everything you'll need to know about these characters getting into it. It is an incredibly entertaining movie the whole way through. Again, maybe some camera angles are not the best, and certain shaky cam may not be everyone's forte, and maybe people really don't like the very quick cuts, but still, I feel like they aren't too intrusive enough that most people can easily get into this and have a definitely enjoyable time. But that being said, this movie was made with the idea that there was going to make another one. They were going to make one last one that was going to bring all of the previous four together to one last adventure. Isn't that weird when you think about it? That our next movie was supposed to be the last one. That, of course, being Fast 5. Of course, if you want to see that or any of the other future Fast Saga movies, then you can go ahead and subscribe. I'll be doing this every Friday going forward due to my current job, so that's the reason why this was not released on Sunday. But regardless, every Friday, see all whatever stuff I'll be doing. Go ahead and subscribe. And most importantly, what's your opinion about Fast and Furious? More importantly, the naming, how it goes, how it is. Is it as good as I've been saying, or is it a worse movie? And tell me why you think that. Well, leave that stuff in the comments. And most importantly, stay good, stay safe, don't be an asshole.